This is the second tutorial on how to use Chamasoft. So on the previous tutorial we learned about how we sign up on the platform as a treasurer or as a group administrator, and then create our group profile, whereby we created our Chamasoft group tutorial account, and then we were able to set up our bank accounts, which was the Bank of Africa, an account in the Bank of Africa Westlands branch, and then we are able to add the two members to our group, Edwin and Geoffrey, and then we were able to set up our contribution reminders of 5,000 per month, every 5th of the month, and the associated fines, which are 500 shillings for any late payment made to the group. So as at the end of the last tutorial, we were going to learn of how to backdate our group finances. That is, set our opening balances on Chamasoft to what we currently have in our physical records prior to using Chamasoft. These records might be in Excel, might be in passbooks, but we need some way to be able to transfer these records from that mode of storage to now Chamasoft, so that we can get the full power of Chamasoft. So we were already logged into the platform, whereby we can see our group dashboard, which we are seeing right now on the screen, whereby all our accounts or all our records are at 0. So how you backdate your group finances is by going to the left hand side menu, which we have here. We'll go through all the menu items in time, but today our focus is on backdating our group finances. So you'll see the second last item is backdate group finances. So just click on the backdate group finances, whereby you'll be able to load the group backdating interface for your group account. So as you can see, there are a few instructions here, but in summary, the instructions are as simple as this. Number one, you will be able to generate a backdating file, which is in Excel. So just click on generate backdating file, whereby it will generate a file based on the following items. Number one, it will export a file with your member group names, your member group names, your member accounts, whereby we have the accounts we created, in this case the Bank of Africa account, and then it will also create a file with the different contributions that you set up during sign up. So as you can see, my file has downloaded, it has already generated it. So we'll go through the file with you so that you understand the structure of the file. The structure of the file is very important, so as to be able to import the correct data to Chamasoft. So I had already opened the Excel file. So you'll see that it has a few different sheets. Let me just extend that so that you're able to see. So it covers a lot of things, but first of all, I want to emphasize on the structure. Please do not change the structure of this Excel file. The system is very sensitive to how the data is structured. Your work is only to enter the figures as prompted by the Excel sheet. So let's start with the first sheet or tab. We have the group members. So with this tab, we have the group members within the group that you created on Chamasoft. So if you imported 10 members, you'll see a full list of all your 10 members. If you imported 20 members, you'll see all of them here. So please do not change this structure, because the system will refer to is using this list to associate each and every opening balance to the members. So as you can see, we have Edwin, we have Geoffrey, as we had imported them on the first tutorial. So leave it as it is. The only thing that you're able to change here is assigning the group role. And kindly remember, you need to give each member a different role. If you put in a similar role for let's say Edwin, you say he's the chairperson, and then you give the same role to Geoffrey, this will throw an error. So each and every member should have a unique role. And then if they don't have any role, just leave the cell empty. So that covers members. Leave it as it is. What you just need to change or to add is the member role, saying this is the chairman, this is the treasurer, the secretary, and so on and so on. But do not change the structure whereby you try and add some few columns. The system will reject it. So let's go to the next tab, which is the accounts. As you remember, on the first step of setting up, we set up our group accounts, whereby we had a bank account in Bank of Africa. So if you entered 4 bank accounts, 2 bank accounts, it will reflect on this Excel sheet, whereby it will give you a list of all your bank accounts. And then again, I want to emphasize, kindly do not change anything on this sheet. It is actually just for reference, so that you're able to track how many accounts that you have. So now let's start backdating. As you can see, on the third sheet, we have the contributions sheet. So this one allows you to put up the contributions made by members and the contributions that should have been made by members since the start of the group up to the date that you are backdating to. So let's assume this group was formed in January 2019. So that means since we are contributing 5,000 per month, the amount payable since January 2019 is the whole year 2019, which is 5 times 12. That accounts for 60,000. You should have paid 60,000 for the whole of 2019 plus the first 3 months of 2020, which is another 15,000. So the amount payable since the 1st of January 2019 up to the 31st of March is 75,000, since we should have paid 5,000, 5,000, 5,000 each and every month without fail up to today. So our actual amount payable is 75,000 for all the members. So this one will be different for each and every group. So you must do your calculations as to how much somebody has to have contributed. This is not what they've contributed, it is what they should have contributed since they joined the group up to the point we are at right now, or the date that we are backdating to. To repeat and to emphasize again, this group, we are assuming it started in 1st of January 2019. Up to today, we should have contributed 75,000. That is 5,000 per month from the beginning of January up to today, 31st of March 2020. That amounts to 75,000, which we've put in there. So as the treasurer or the person backdating, kindly do your calculations very well so as to know how much each member should have contributed, because this one will be, calculate the arrears. We'll calculate the arrears that a member owes, or how much the member owes. Now to offset this is the actual, on this column, monthly contribution paid, or amount paid. Now this is where you put the actual amount of money a member has put into the account. Okay, so we'll assume that Geoffrey and I have what have we been able to do? Let me just do something. Let me Geoffrey and I, as you can see, Geoffrey and I are up to date in terms of our contributions. As you can see, this is my row. I should have paid 75,000. Geoffrey also should have paid 75,000. And then if the member is up to date, whereby we are assuming that we have paid on time, we say I have paid 75,000 and my member Geoffrey has paid 75,000. So this column, you should actually put the amount the member has actually paid towards that contribution, so that the system now is able to give you a summary of how much the member owes and has paid. So in this case, I have paid 75,000, and looking at the payables, since they are equal, my arrears are at 0, so I don't have any outstanding balance. So that is very crucial to understand. I'll just go over it again, whereby the system will generate the list of all members here, and then it will give you an opportunity to place to enter the opening balances for each and every contribution. Number one, how much is payable, or should the member have paid from the beginning of his membership up to today, or the day that you're backdating to. Then versus how much he or she has paid towards this contribution. And in this case, we've assumed that we owed 75,000 and both members paid that amount in full. If them, so this one will be able to calculate the arrears. So with that done, we are done with contributions. And I emphasize again, kindly do not change the structure. Just play with these numbers so that you are able to keep a record of everything. Then we go to contribution refunds. If there have been members who have left the group, or they have been refunded some amount of money by the group, this is where you put in the money. So let's say if Edwin had, or Geoffrey had been refunded 500, you put it in there. But in this tutorial, we will assume that this they've not been refunded anything, or the members have not been refunded. But if you have ever had any refunds from the start of the group, you need to put in the amounts here. And again, do not change the structure of the Excel sheet. Let's go to the fines tab, or the fines sheet. Same case applicable. The one backdating needs to find the total amount the member has been fined since he started being a member of the group. So let's say myself, cumulatively from all our records, I have been fined 5,000. This might be a combination of absenteeism, late payment, rudeness, depending on what how I was fined by the chairman or the officials. So I'll say I was fined 5,000, and Geoffrey, since he's a good guy, will say he has been only fined 500 cumulatively since the start of our group in January 2019. And then on the other side, we need to put in how much I've paid to service these fines that have been any fines that have been fined by the group. So I'll say I have actually paid 4,500, so I have an arrears of 500. So the system will actually look and see I should have paid 5,000 but I've only paid 4,500, hence my arrears will be 500. So we'll say Geoffrey paid 500 towards his fines. So as you can see, he was fined 500 and he paid 500 against those loans, against those fines. So that covers fines. And again, do not change the structure of the Excel sheet. We go to miscellaneous payments. So miscellaneous payments cover, before I explain on how to backdate my miscellaneous payments, miscellaneous payments are payments that are not contributions, are not fines, are not loans. They are just exceptional payments made by the group members that are very, I'd say, special. For example, if the group settled a bill on behalf of a member, then the member pays back the group. We'd call this a miscellaneous payment, since it's neither a contribution, it's neither a fine or a loan, but it's a payment made just to clear a debt that he or she had with the group. Another example would be, let's say, a donation. Let's say one of the members wanted to just donate to the group and he didn't want it to appear as a contribution. This is where it appears. You should put in miscellaneous payments. So same case applies. Since the start of the group, or since the member joined the group, how much has he or she paid towards this, towards miscellaneous payments? We leave it empty, but this is, you put in a figure. Let's say 5,000, 500, or 520. But we'll just put it therefore to be able to track our finances. Then we go to another very important part of loans. Now, of the Chama called loans. Now, remember, this is cumulative. It should be cumulative, since we are just giving opening balances since the group started up to when we started using the platform. So that it will give a list of all the members within the group, and then it will give you how much they have borrowed. So any loans they borrowed from the beginning of the group up to now, you have to calculate the cumulative principal borrowed. Let's say I borrowed 100,000 cumulatively, and then Geoffrey borrowed 50,000 cumulatively, and then we give the interest payable from these loans. So we'll just do an easy calculation and say any principal borrowed from this group should be paid back at 10%. So the one doing the backdating, or the treasurer doing the backdating, has to be very careful in terms of calculating these figures, because now this is what will lead to show, will show how much the member owes the group in terms of loans. So under loan repaid, you should put in the cumulative amount, the cumulative amount of how much the member has paid. So from the beginning of the group, let's say I paid, what I've paid back right now is 90,000, and Githaiga has already cleared all his loans. He has paid 55,000. So what this will do, it will actually now tell the system that yes, I borrowed this amount, but I still have an outstanding balance of 20,000. So it will actually be keeping an arrears, or a record of arrears form of how much I owe in terms of loans. So for every member, you should give a bulk figure of how much they've borrowed since the beginning of the group versus the interest that they should have paid versus what they've paid cumulatively, so that it calculates a starting balance of how much principal a member has borrowed, how much interest they borrowed, and how much they've paid. A question I get a lot is, how do I put in the interest that has been paid? The system actually is able to divide this amount into the principal paid versus the interest, so you don't need to worry about dividing the interest paid versus the principal paid. The system does it automatically. So with that done, we'll proceed to expenses. So these are any expenses that the group has ever incurred since the beginning of the group. So as you can see, we've put in categories for you, which we saw are very common with all the other groups, or many groups have these expense categories. You have the freedom to add other rows, which now say other rows that signify other expense categories. but you have to be careful. So what I usually do is I insert, I just copy a row here, then paste special. No, sorry, I just paste, insert copied cells, and then change the naming here. I change the naming here to a new category, whereby we can say if we had a category of airtime, you just add it there so that we can be able to log the expenses under each category. So same case as the contributions, same case as the refunds and fines. For each and every category, since the beginning of the group, you enter the cumulative amount spent per category so that we can we can see what is happening within the group. So I'll say on stationery you spend a cumulative of 450 since the start of the group. Bank charges, you have to look at your bank statements and see how much you've spent. You'll say 890, and you need to, if a category has an amount, you need to calculate it well and then put it in here, whereby you'll see, let me delete this, you need to put in the correct amount of how much has been spent. So that covers expenses. And again, I repeat, do not change the structure. What you need is to put in the cumulative figure of how much you spent per category since the start of the group. So so that you're able to come up with the correct bank balances. And then another important aspect that we need to follow is, as you can see, each and every amount is tied to an account, whereby it will be the bank account that was used to pay for this expense, or the account that was used to deposit or withdraw the funds. So we've been using this Bank of Africa for everything. So one important thing to note is that all these figures we are putting in, the contributions, the refunds, the fines, the miscellaneous, the loans, all affect the bank loan balance here. So at the end of the backdating, you should have, it will aggregate all the deposits versus all the withdrawals, so as to come up with the bank balance that you have as at the date you're backdating to. So be very careful about the figures you enter here. Then we have income. So if you have any income that the group has earned during that period, you are allowed to put in what's it called, the amount that you've received from that category or from that income category. Let's say rent, you can say we received rent of 50,000, and the depositor is the person who paid in that rent. So you'll say, you can put in the name of the person who's been paying you rent. I'll just put in my name. So this is very crucial. Kindly just make sure if you put in an amount here, you need to put in the person who paid you that income. Okay, then we go to assets. These are any assets that you've bought. So let's say you bought some land at a certain price point. You can say we bought land in Kajiado land, and then you say we bought it at 100,000. So any asset that you bought, this is where you put in the figures. And the same case applies. You can just do this, copy, and then paste. And where's this paste? Let's just do that, and put in a new category, whereby you can say we bought another category, asset category of what example can we use? Motor vehicle. Let's just say we bought a motorcycle, and then asset name, we'll just put in the number plate. Let's just do A, and then You can say we bought it at 50,000. Then if we sold any of these assets, this is where you put in the amount of how much you sold this asset for, and then you can put in the name there. Then we go to the next step. We have stocks. Any stocks, let me just go back to stocks. Any stocks that you purchased at any given moment in time. As you can see, you can say we bought Safaricom stocks. Then since we bought Safaricom stocks, we need to say how many shares we bought. Can put in 45. Let's put in a big number, 50,000. 50. Let's just put in 50, and how much we bought these shares at. So we'll just say 125 shillings per share. So if you've sold some of the shares, you can actually put in the number of shares you sold. Let's say we sold 8 of them at 400 shillings. So we made a very good profit. So you can add as many stock purchases as you've made, so as to keep a track of how many stocks that you've bought. Then we go to money market investments. So money market investment covers anything to do with investments dealing with money market funds. For example, fixed deposits, T-bills, treasury bonds. What is this called? Compound savings accounts. But mostly this one covers fixed deposits and T-bills. So we can say at a given moment in time we invested in a money market investment or a fixed deposit within the bank. This is where you put in it, whereby you put in the name of the institution, for example, Bank of Africa or Central Bank of Kenya if you are doing T-bills. And then you say how much you invested. Let's say you put in a T-bill of 100,000 shillings or 1,000,000, and then if this money matured and was sent back to your account, you'd be able now to say how much money you received back in total. So if you invested 1,000,000, and then once it matures after let's say 90 days, you received 1,100,000 shillings, you put in the full amount there. So that one will cover for money market investments. So we are finished with backdating. But what is really crucial about backdating is putting in the correct figures, because these figures account for what you have in the bank. So a correctly done backdating or Excel sheet will give you the money that you have at the bank right now, or at the moment you're backdating. So once you backdate, in this case, just double check everything is okay. As you can see, for myself, I'm checking that these amounts are correct, that I've done everything well. Once you've done that, you should save the file. Once you save the file, go back to your browser and then click on drag or drop files here. So I'll just click on this. It says drag or drop. Okay, so what I'll do is I know where it's saved. Let me just open the containing folder, open file location, then I'll do this, drop it there. So once you drop it there, it will upload, and then once it's uploaded, it will work in the background and backdate your finances as per what you've done. So in the next tutorial, we'll just look at how a backdated account looks like, as we've seen from this Excel sheet. So it will work in the background, and after 1 hour I'll receive a notification saying indicating that my payment or my backdating is complete, I can now start using Chamasoft to manage my finances. So in the next tutorial, we'll just look at how it looks, a backdated group looks like, and we'll proceed on how to use Chamasoft. And that's all. If you have any questions, just put them under the comment section so that I'm able to answer you and improve the tutorial further. And thank you.